No, that's it. You're not wrong. All right, all right. Let's. Hey, what's good, Dread? What's good, brother? Welcome, all you wrestling fans, to the 12th episode of the Pop-Up Powerbomb podcast. I'm your host, the breathtaking one, Spooky, and tonight, wrestling fans, we share our thoughts on Tony Khan and AEW, Adam Edge Copeland's future in the sport. We speculate and, of course, throw our predictions in the hat as we get ready for possibly the biggest, one of the biggest events in wrestling history, and AEW's All In. Of course, we have a little bit more in store for you tonight. So I hope you got your beverages and your snacks ready. And now it's story time with the breathtaking one and the panel, baby, as Adam Cole would love to say. We'll get to that too when we get to All In too, because that's been another interesting storyline. But of course, don't forget to hit that like button and share this out, folks. It's always a big help. It's great to see Carlo in the chat already. He stopped by. I know he's a busy man. He's celebrating his birthday today. Happy birthday, Carlo.
Happy birthday, Carlo.
We were starting to wonder if it was 1 tequila, 2 tequila, 3 tequila floor. Well, wouldn't surprise me. No, you take it all in, man, and you enjoy your day. We all only get it once every year, so take advantage of it. And of course, the man with the mythical beard, Dreadpool. Always good to see you, brother. All right, boys. How we all been? I'll start with you first, Josh. How you been, brother? What you been up to lately? Been catching up on all the wrestling around the place?
Yes. It's been kind of a hectic couple weeks with me. Nothing like too crazy. Just getting ready. Like my sister's moving into her college dorm. Right. Friends are moving into their new places, so it's like just been busy, just moving around. But I'm doing good. Been keeping up with wrestling. I do have a lot to say, especially with the All In card.
Yes, brother. It's we're gonna get into that a little bit later. And like I mentioned at the top of the show, it seems to be shaping up pretty well, and they've done really well on ticket sales. Obviously, they've still got the rest of this week leading in to sell some more tickets as well. So we'll see what on the night what the final attendance will be. How about you, Paul? How you been, brother? And you been enjoying the weekly shows leading into this big event this coming weekend?
Yeah, for the most part, they've been pretty good. They've been, we were talking as I went live. There were a couple of parts that kind of let me down as they kind of let things kind of get ignored or passed over, but they're doing that to feed into what's coming up between All In and then the week, a week or two after that, we have the WWE one coming up as well.
Yes, we do. That's right. So, yeah.
So we got all kinds of stuff to look forward to in the next few weeks.
We do. And I thought it was funny, another little tidbit before we do get into topics is WrestleMania 40 tickets and All In tickets have been going back and forth. But WrestleMania 40, from last count, I think has sold 90,000 tickets, which is
that's what they were just saying, talking about today. Over 90,000 tickets in one day.
Yeah, in one day.
So they broke their own record. They broke their own record.
That's massive. So
and it's in Philly, so I was trying to go, but them tickets are like really expensive.
Yeah.
And ringside are like a couple of $1,000 or something. It's like ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, that's typical though of a WrestleMania. Usually, they are quite pricey. Yep. It's just as bad.
You know what this tells me though? Between the two, wrestling is hot again. It goes through phases. It has since I've been growing up in the '70s and stuff.
I'm not
and
kidding.
Wrestling.
Eva. I was just gonna say I'm not kidding. WrestleMania tickets are as bad as Knicks and Yankees tickets, and I know that firsthand. That they quite
the way they tickets were looking, I thought they were Taylor Swift tickets I was purchasing.
I'm
not even Taylor Swift. They were just I was like,
for old people like me, WrestleMania tickets are like getting Barbra Streisand tickets for always overpriced too. Yeah,
that's it. That's it.
When the cheap seats are $500 and you're like, oh hell no,
Jesus. But it's definitely always a fun 2-day event, and I'm quite sure there's probably plenty of people that are buying tickets for both days. So hopefully they don't set themselves broke in doing so.
Now, the only part that about some of this is, a lot of them are immediately going to the secondary market for skyrocketed prices.
Oh yeah,
That's the only part about stuff like this I don't like, is that's why they buy them and they turn around and basically scalp them.
Yeah,
And
you're not wrong. And then they charge even higher again. So,
yeah.
Oh, it's ridiculous. And of course you'll have people that are desperate, so they'll be like, "Well, we can't get any tickets the logical way anymore,
Yep.
so now we've got to buy it this way." So it's like, "Oh, you bastards!"
Yeah.
But first topic of the evening, boys, and it's actually been quite a hot topic, I guess, for a little while now. Even it's getting sort of more and more spoken about. And before we'll share opinions on it, I've got a couple of bits from Eric Bischoff that's commented on it. Tony Khan and how he's running AEW. So first off, Bischoff says AEW founder Tony Khan couldn't manage a clown car, in his opinion. On his latest, I know, on his latest episode of his podcast Strictly Business, Bischoff had some criticism of AEW and Tony Khan. The criticisms also surround Punk's controversies, how they've been dealt with publicly and not internally. The former WCW president also believes that there is a lack of leadership and professionalism within the company, a fault that Bischoff has expressed in the past as well on occasions. He said the lack of leadership, the lack of professionalism is manifested by somebody who is talking to these outside news sites, Bischoff stated. He said, this is internal business. This should be dealt with internally, and it's not being dealt with internally. There are too many people talking outside of the office. This is, in my opinion, proprietary, confidential information that shouldn't be shared with anybody. Bischoff feels that if there aren't clauses in the agreements that talent sign, which outline what talent can and can't say about AEW's business to the public, then there should be one added in the future. And then he went on, while he was speaking obviously more about AEW's situation, Bischoff admitted that the same internal strife happened to him back in the day. He emphasized with Tony to a point, but feels that the AEW president has played a part in the backstage drama, calling AEW a giant clown car, and that Khan can't manage it whatsoever. He said, just like WCW, it's literally the inmates running the asylum at this point, and the entire company looks like a giant clown car filled with juvenile, unprofessional, self-absorbed children. Not all of them, obviously. I don't want to cast such a broad net, but I've never seen anything like this in a long, long time. Could you imagine if Tony would have been able to buy WWE? You can't manage a clown car at this point. Bischoff also called it self-destructing behaviour and that it is ruining the company. He feels that instead of fighting amongst themselves, the talent should be focusing on the All-In pay-per-view this coming weekend and be happy with how good ticket sales are for the Wembley Stadium event. With CM Punk obviously reportedly blocking other talents to work on Collision, which we're also going to get on to speak on later. His ongoing beef with Hangman Page and then Cash Wheeler's arrest, the focus seems to be shifting from the incredible achievement of selling over 80,000 tickets. And he also added on Tony bringing cancer into AEW and importance of the brand. So, of course, he again hit out on his podcast. This time specifically more about the handling of the CM Punk situation. The Hall of Fame Bischoff credited AEW for not depending on one star, but came down heavily on Punk. Said WWE is comprised and is representative by all of these superstars, but it's the brand that people are buying into, not any one person, argued Bischoff. And again, it's one of the reasons why I'm supportive and will continue to be supportive of AEW for not relying on any one piece of talent. I no longer think that's the way to do business. He criticised Punk once again, calling him overrated and unprofessional, and feels that Tony Khan hasn't managed the former AEW World Champion well. Bischoff added, CM Punk is a draw. I don't like him. I think he's unprofessional. I think he's highly overrated, and I don't think he's worth nearly the amount of money of that or the compromises that Tony Khan is making along the way. I think that Tony will realise that at some point in time. I've said this before. As soon as Punk came back, This is making a bad situation worse. You're bringing cancer into your company and you're not managing it, said Bischoff. Rather than putting Punk in a box and reminding him that he's talent, he's not management, they gave him the keys to the kingdom, so to speak. And he recalls being in a similar situation himself, of course, as we're all well aware, those that follow WWE. Bischoff said that he was in a similar situation when he was in charge of WCW and had to file a lawsuit against Ric Flair. Bischoff filed a lawsuit against the 16-time world champion after he didn't appear for an episode of Thunder. Bischoff encouraged Tony to be a better leader and stated that the situation will worsen before it gets better. He said, it's in his own words, it's going to get worse before it gets better. At some point, Tony's going to have to learn how to be a leader instead of a fan or a child. He's going to have to take it on the chin, just like I did with Rick. When I decided to sue Rick because he couldn't work, because we couldn't work our, excuse the language, our shit out, and he was going public with his side of the story, I said, I can't play anymore. I have to take a position, and it was a painful one to take. It still is. Ric Flair still resents me to this day for what I did. He hates when I even talk about it. But I was forced to do something I didn't want to do and something I knew was going to hurt financially because Ric Flair had such an amazingly loyal fan base, and deservedly so. He feels that the issues surrounding Punk and AEW will aggravate because there's no risk or punishment for Punk when he talks openly and criticises fellow stars. Bischoff feels that the ultimate goal for every pro wrestler should be to build the promotion's brand, even if it means dealing with people that they don't like. That is their responsibility, to help with the others to build a brand. That's what they're getting paid for, in some cases millions and millions of dollars, more than they are actually worth on the open market. But Tony's willing to take that chance and to fund whatever his vision is. Their responsibility is to contribute in building the brand, even if it means putting up a situation that they really don't like, argued Bischoff. Everybody that I know that has a job has to put up with situations every single day and work with people every single day and are assigned to do things they absolutely detest every single day. But that's what you're getting paid to do. The Hall of Famer said he has worked with many people that he hasn't liked, and that peers only require respect and trust to make it all work. He thinks that every wrestler should focus on moving the brand forward and look past personal agendas and even work with those that they don't see eye to eye with. Of course, over the last few weeks, there have been a number of issues that have surfaced regarding CM Punk and AEW, with rumoured tense encounters between Punk and Jack Perry, as well as Punk and Ryan Nemeth, where Punk had him up against a wall. Punk has reportedly offered to have discussions with the Elites to bury the hatchet, but AEW management has scuppered up those plans, including the lawyers involved. So I'm going to come across to you first on this, Paul, this whole thing, Bischoff's comments. What's your thoughts on what Bischoff's outlined, and how do you feel on Tony Khan? Do you think Bischoff is right here in anything?
You know, sometimes I don't agree with the way Bischoff comes across. I liked him in WCW, but, you know, at least when he says stuff, he says, look, I went through the same crap. I made the same mistakes and learned from my mistakes. And I do see that, and we've talked about this before. I do think CM Punk has been given too much leeway to kind of, you know, run the asylum. You know, for some reason, Tony's afraid to go, this is my show, this is my party. You're, you know, yes, you're a headliner, but still, I'm the one who's in charge. And it shows sometimes.
Right.
I do think they need somebody between him as the money guy and the talent to really take charge of that back room.
Right.
And so to that extent, I do agree with Eric, you know, because he did. He learned from watching what happened with Rick. He learned from watching what happened with Hogan, and we're seeing it repeat itself.
Yeah, you
know.
are.
And so I absolutely agree. At some point, though it's going to hurt, somebody's going to have to sit down and go with CM Punk and see it may piss him off, but go, look, this is my show, not yours. You're going to do what we need you to do to push the brand forward, not to push CM Punk forward.
Right.
Pushing CM Punk forward may be good for the brand, but not always. You know what I mean?
No, exactly. And look, I a lot of the time don't agree with Bischoff, but he's been through and the way he put it forward, he's not wrong. Like WCW was run by the inmates, and that's what went wrong there. Hogan had a lot of say. Nash, Hall, they had a lot of say, and they kind of forced Bischoff's hand a lot. They pushed him around. Ric Flair tried to push him around, as he pointed out. I'm getting the same sense here with Tony. Like, Tony's you're supposed to be in charge. You are supposed to be the boss of all these people underneath you. Not just the wrestlers, but any backstage talent as well.
Right.
He doesn't seem to command or have that respect though, and command that respect. And he seems to be taking more of a back seat on all of this, which he really shouldn't be doing. Like, because at the end of the day, this is affecting the company. Because you look at just the Elite and CM Punk situation. I mean, you got, 4 or 5 guys there involved that aren't talking, that you are trying to keep completely separated, which, I mean, it might...
You're trying to keep all the parties happy, but it's costing the brand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it might work for a little while, but it's not going to be, it's a Band-Aid solution. It's not going to work forever.
Yeah. You know what I think they could maybe do? Find somebody who all the wrestlers kind of respect or can be kind of pushed into respecting. Like, look, we're going to talk about this later. Edge's contract is up with WWE.
Yeah.
Throw him there in a leadership situation. Put him in charge of the wrestlers.
Yeah.
Go, listen, assholes, here's what we're going to do. And if you're going to argue with me, that's fine. It ain't going to get you anywhere. But just do what I asked you to do.
Yeah,
The crazy part about that is they had people back there for that already. They just don't care. I feel like it's not a matter of leadership. It is a matter of leadership actually, but it's just that the young generation doesn't care what the previous generation did. It's like, oh no, we're better than y'all. Sure, like we'll we'll take some of your advice, but at the end of the day, we're gonna be like, oh, we're gonna do us. Like we're doing how we.
Then you slap them down. Because in the end, it's not their company.
No.
Well,
put it this way. Like, for example, and we touched on it the other week, Ryan Nemeth. Now, I get he's friends with the Elite. But there is no need for you to stick your nose and chuck fuel on the fire of that situation that doesn't need the fuel added to the fire. And that's exactly what he did.
That's the other part I was going to speak to, where Bischoff says there needs to be wording in their contract that says, look, you don't talk about this stuff outside of these walls, period.
No.
Do not try to win the public's appreciation for what you're trying to do. This isn't about what you perceive the public wants. This is, we deal with this inside these walls.
Exactly.
Keep your mouth shut. Yeah.
And it should have been put in there, because not only did Ryan Nemeth shouldn't have done that, but then Punk, after a recent collision, so after the cameras and stuff, he shouldn't have said what he said about Hangman. Look, don't get me wrong. I agree.
And then he tried to play face with that. He was like, "Oh, I didn't mean to come off like that." Like, bro, why would you say it then?
Yes, and then he, and you obviously knew you messed up because you went and apologized to Hangman, right? But look, with what he said, he isn't wrong. Between the two of them, Punk moves merchandise, Hangman doesn't.
Right.
So he's not wrong, but you shouldn't have said it, because it's just going to heat up the whole situation again. Like, you can have your thoughts on that, but keep your thoughts obviously to yourself, because some of these guys obviously, I don't know, get into their feels and,
Oh, yeah, 100%. Right. That's wrestling.
Yeah. And so, look, Hangman's a new. Like, he really still is. I mean, he's been on the indie scene for a little while in New Japan, but he's younger than all of these guys. I'm pretty sure he's late 20s, early 30s. So he's, to the mainstream, he is new. Even like to a degree, even though most people know who he is now, when AEW first started, Kenny Omega to the mainstream, even though he had been around for years, and he is in his early 40s, I believe, or close to it.
Yeah, he's like late 30s.
Yeah, he was only just starting to get into the mainstream by being on TNT and TBS, right? So, whereas Punk with his WWE career and even, UFC, even though we know he didn't do any good there, but UFC is, watched by millions and millions of people around the world. So they knew him. They know his brand. They know his name. You know, so he's not wrong in saying that. Like, and look, as much as I agree with Bischoff's comments, the one thing I probably would say that obviously Tony's finding hard is, like you mentioned, Paul, he's trying to please everybody, but obviously he understands too that someone of Punk's stature is, you know,
Right.
sells tickets, moves merchandise. So he's trying.
But how much? But how much of your other wrestlers do you want to risk losing in the name of CM Punk? That's where it comes into.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You know, and I believe that, like, Omega, he's a merchandise mover too. You know, he may be behind Punk, but he still moves merchandise. He's not like Adam Page.
Right.
Adam Cole and MJF. Right, and
they move the merch.
They move merch.
They move the merch.
Orange Cassidy moves merch. Jericho still moves merch. Sting and Darby Allin both move merch. Right, so you've got guys there, right, that move merch, and a couple of those guys are pillars that help get started. You know, like Darby, Kenny Omega, Orange Cassidy, and that.
Yeah.
So it's not like.
Well, and part of moving merch is you have to give them a character that catches on with the crowd.
Yeah,
that
you do.
They want to wear their stuff. And until you do that, you're not going to move much merch just because they're there. You know.
But
they'll have their few fans, but you find that sweet spot of having a great character, and all of a sudden, or even a great tag for that character, a great one line that they always use. You know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so, I do think. In basically what Bischoff's trying to say is, I think Tony needs to grow a set and say, it's my company, right? Yeah. I need and take control of this whole situation, because right now he's got no control, and that's quite evident.
One thing I will say is Bischoff might have got his point better across to Tony if he wouldn't have thrown in all that can't run a clown car crap, because if you start a discussion with an insult, the other person is just going to shut down.
Yeah, the other
we said that for years now, since probably the dawn of AEW, about Tony Khan. That, you can't be friendly. You got to be the boss.
Right.
Yeah.
I get that. I'm just saying. Yeah, I'm just saying if Bischoff really wants to try to help, because it sounds like he wants to support AEW.
It also sounds like he's a player hater. I will say that too.
Yeah, the message can't be like that. Yeah, because that's not going to go anywhere.
It seems like, because him and Bischoff used to be tight, and I mean Tony Khan and Bischoff, they used to be tight. They used to do their things together, like for the shows and all that.
Yeah,
he was a frequent guest on AEW. Now all of a sudden, I guess he tried to give Tony Khan advice. Tony Khan said, "Fuck, I don't need your advice, bro. You let WCW die." And Bischoff has now been on this tear of kind of taking shots at AEW, but there are truth to some of his shots. Like the CM Punk thing is a truth. Like, it seems like CM Punk is the man. Even though I don't think he's the man in terms of his wrestling skill set, but in terms of his running the company, it's like, hey, I'm the dude, I'm the face, I'm this and I that, and I get the special treatment. I'm the Tom Brady of this team. And it's like, all right, bro, like, you not that good, and you still can talk great on the mic, but when it comes to in-ring work, you are trash, and you proved it when you hit that terrible ass GTS on Samoa Joe. And it's like, I also felt like CM Punk has always been overrated in terms of the in-ring skill. I've never been hyped on that from him.
Right.
Yeah. I think he just brings too much drama with him, and until you get somebody in there who can control the drama.
And there's just no control, like. And the other thing that's been brought up many times, Tony is running this. By the way,
real quick, that's not all on CM Punk. Like you said, the other guy started it the other week.
Yes. Ryan Nemeth.
Knowing CM Punk was going to react, knowing that CM Punk was going to react, it's like, okay, they should have called them both in the back and said, you two need to knock this shit off now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing is that Tony is trying to run this like two failed companies. He really is. He is trying to run this like WCW, and yes, regardless that the company I'm about to mention is still around in a smaller capacity, he's trying to run this like TNA, right? And that's not good. you know, at all. Why are you trying to emulate two failed companies and you think you could do what they were trying to do better when obviously the case right now is it's not. Like, I'm obviously he's not at a point, and AEW's not at a point where they're hanging on by a thread and they're going to be bought out. They're not there, but that's where they'll end up
TNA
being.
died nearly like 3 times in my
No,
life.
yeah.
That's where
The
they'll
problem,
be.
I think he's trying to be everybody's friend.
Yes,
He's trying to
yes.
appease everybody.
Yeah,
And it's
That's
like,
what
you
makes
can't
Vince
do
McMahon the
that.
greatest and also the worst, is that he wasn't everybody's friend. Like, he would tell you how it is. Like, no. And yeah, you can say whatever you want about Vince. Vince was a boss.
no, exactly. And
The biggest
thing
problem
is-
I have with Vince is when he does have people he likes, he lets them get away with anything. You know,
The thing is
He's-
like, okay, Tony Khan and Punk are the new Bischoff and Hogan. You know, Bischoff knows obviously about locker room cancer. We know he signed Hogan and stood by him for freaking decades. And Tony Khan is doing the exact same thing here with CM Punk, and that's not good because obviously that in itself, the other wrestlers are going to see that you are showing favoritism there, right? That's not that. Of course, it's going to cause jealousy, animosity, and a bunch of other things, and that's not the way to do it, And he, which actually I might move up into the next topic because it kind of coincides with all this. He's given CM Punk, in my opinion, too much power on Collision. Now we right. He holds authority. He's given Punk authority to veto, Collision decisions. Like, so, I know Wrestling News Source, shout out to them, commented on it, said further understanding has emerged regarding the extent of Punk's influence over the occurrences of Collision. And Meltzer even, for Wrestling Observer Newsletter, commented and discussed Punk's possession of veto power concerning matters related to Collision. Collision was considered CM Punk's show, and evidently, whether explicit or just in practice, Christopher Daniels is no longer allowed to come there. Matt Hardy recently got sent home. Ryan Nemeth obviously got sent home for what we were just discussing. And it's clear he has veto power over who can be there and who can't be there. Meltzer added the company had been generally careful not to book people who would upset CM Punk on that show, and that's a well-known fact. So why on earth they decided to book Nemeth is likely due to everyone being of the impression that the incident that occurred between the Elite and Punk happened months and months ago, that it should have been settled by this point in time. But, of course, throughout, the past week or two, there's been numerous reports that have emerged regarding behind-the-scenes occurrences at AEW involving Punk and talent being banned for attending Collision. And now there's backstage concerns mounting as AEW stars have been speaking anonymously about Punk-related issues. Several wrestlers have come forward anonymously to share their thoughts on the ongoing saga and behind-the-scenes problems and controversies surrounded by Punk. Source of much of the discontent appears to stem from recent reports indicating that Punk may have been involved in deciding to send, certain individuals, as I mentioned a few, home from Collision. These events have reportedly resulted...
Which is unfortunate because, I'm sorry to cut you off, it's unfortunate because Collision is actually a great show.
It is,
Collision is what Dynamite was in the beginning.
Yeah. So that's resulted in dissatisfaction among several personnel backstage. And Dave Meltzer expounded upon this matter in his latest Wrestling Observer newsletter. He conveys a sense of wariness regarding the situation, expresses concerns that if not adequately addressed, things could potentially deteriorate further. He says, for the most part, the crew behind or backstage at Collision is harmonious at the moment, but there are those absolutely tired of it. Different cliques and a couple of the backstage vets who aren't part of the actual conflict directly expressed concern to us in the last few weeks that unless things are handled now, they are risking things getting far, far worse and much further out of control. So, again, this plays into what Bischoff's trying to point out. And what you touched on, Paul, is that Tony is not being a boss. He's trying to be friends with too many of them, obviously, especially Punk. And by the seams of it, and giving Punk a lot of power there for Collision, he is bending over backwards for Punk. He really is.
Yep.
He has a CM Punk fetish.
Yeah.
He has a CM Punk fetish.
Yes.
Even though we could never get him to say anything, I bet you in a way this is breaking Cody's heart because this was his baby. Yeah. And I'm sure at some point he wants to come back. But if they destroy this...
Is there going to be a company Cody's for him to come back to? That's the question.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what... And he's got to be watching this going down and wondering the same thing. Even though he can't speak to it publicly anywhere. Going, what the hell are you guys doing?
So what just to get a bit more of your thoughts, Josh, what do you think needs to change? What's your thoughts on all of this altogether?
Well, first off, you got to take away the control from the power hungry wrestler that you have in CM Punk. It's just that's the main issue. It's like CM Punk, like you can't have half your roster be on one show and not the other. Like you can't, because at the end of the day, there are storylines there that can be told on Collision. They've done somewhat a decent job, but there are also times it's like, man, maybe Ricky Starks should have won over CM Punk. Do we really care about CM Punk taking on Samoa Joe right now at All In when both of them barely could go? Not me. I really don't care. Don't get me wrong, it'll probably be a decent match, but it's like I have no interest in this. And we're gonna get to All In eventually, but it's just like you have to take away, like you gotta get rid of CM Punk, like it powers. You gotta get rid of it. It's gotta go.
Well, you know what I think? I think that it may hurt initially if they were to tell CM Punk to take a flying leap. But I think they have enough. I honestly think they have enough names coming up that they would survive and they would do well.
I mean, that's what the thing that they will definitely survive. Everybody knows.
Well, here's the thing.
Tony Khan doesn't believe it.
Tony Khan needs to realize there is one person, right, that we could all say and agree upon right now, and I'm going to mention the name, that I personally think if you want to appease to anybody because they are so over and they're probably right now the biggest star in your company, it ain't CM Punk. It's a man by the name of Adam Cole, baby.
Yeah.
That's the man who you should be pushing as your face of the company. If not him, then MJF would be very, very close just behind him. Right now. I'm just talking about right now.
MJ is fire. MJ is on fire right now. He really is.
MJF and Adam Cole, their storyline is top notch.
Which we'll get into later because I do think that there might be a double switch with that storyline, which we'll touch on. But there is your biggest babyface and biggest heel in that company right now. And as I said, just behind them as now because he's a heel, and I would say he's definitely right up there as 1B, I guess, is the heel. Ricky Starks, right?
Yeah, he should have went over that night.
So there's
against, Punk.
There's three guys that you should put more focus on for your company going forward because they are, especially with MJF and Ricky Starks, they are a lot younger than a lot of these guys. Adam Cole, I'm pretty sure, is only just in his early 30s as well, or mid-30s. So he's still got some years too. So they're still a lot younger than the Kenny Omegas, the Samoa Joes, the CM Punks, definitely the Chris Jerichos, right? And that's where I think you should be putting more focus instead of the person that, he might be moving the merch and selling tickets now, but he's also at the tail, the twilight of his career as well.
Also, he hasn't gone heel yet, and I think that's what everybody's been waiting for.
He has to. Like that crowd reaction for Punk, everybody wants to hear Punk.
I don't care no more about fake CM Punk. I kind of don't care.
No, he is better as a heel. He always has been as a heel. With the way he's acting, backstage and everything, like his actions, like are more a heel as it is. Even though they're real, obviously reactions because it's all happened backstage and off of the cameras, but. he is a heel. He is a natural heel. He's getting enough damn boos now. Like, yeah, sure, when he first came back, even when he first came back again the second time around from being off for so long, like, yeah, he was getting the big reactions, everything. He'll always get his big reaction in Chicago because it's his hometown.
It's Chicago.
Yeah.
Which they're always in
Yeah.
every Thursday,
Right.
every Wednesday.
But, I mean, like,
Yeah.
MJF, up until, again, which we'll touch on, has been a heel this whole time, but he gets huge reactions in Long Island because that's his hometown. Like, heels will, in their hometown, they'll get the big
Yep.
reaction. They'll be treated as the baby face even though they're the heel. So, that's all well and good, but it's all waned now. Like, he's not getting that big baby face reaction that you want. And, I mean, me and you, I think, Paul, a couple episodes ago touched on this, how... he's trying to push Punk as this big baby face and turn everybody
Right.
else around him that, probably didn't need to be... I mean, like, we said, even though it's obviously working, but we said Ricky Starks didn't need to go heel again so quickly because he was over as a baby face.
Yeah.
And, I mean, Ricky works both ways. It doesn't matter. He's charismatic enough, sort of similar like The Rock, that he could play both roles. But... you'd only recently turn him baby face from splitting him from Hobbs and Taz and all that falling apart, and all of a sudden, because you want to keep, your love interest, as we'll say, happy and keep him as the baby face, you want to turn everybody else. So it's like, come on, what are we doing here? Like, and there was a bit of confusion when they initially did that because it didn't make sense at the time initially to turn Starks heel. And then they're like, what, are we going to see him teaming back up with Hobbs again? And he's going to join up with QT Marshall, who just clobbered him in the face like a week or so before, you know what I mean? Like, so people were a little bit confused on it, so...
Well, what even last week, it looked like they were going to turn Jericho heel again. I did like that bit because, the crowd
that was good.
The crowd reaction when they thought Jericho was going to go heel was like, oh, hell no. It's like, and then it all turned around backwards. I mean, I thought that was very well done. They did a great job with that.
Yeah, it was. That was a funny scene. But, I think he needs to take control back off Punk. Look, I know, I get it. You built Collision around him, but you don't give any of these guys power. I mean, like, you've given... enough power to a degree, and I mean, there's probably even fans, I know there is fans, that don't agree with Kenny and the Young Bucks being EVPs, right? There was people that had an issue with Cody Rhodes being an EVP while he's still a wrestler, So, if you... But, I mean, in saying that...
Oh, hey, baby, for Spooky, but not for me. I see. No, it's fine. Fine.
But, no, like, but the difference is... and it generally comes across Cody Rhodes, Kenny Omega. I don't know about the sometimes you get a vibe that they don't have an ego. Sometimes you do get, but Kenny.
I think
Kenny and
the
Cody
Bucks don't really have an ego.
Yeah, Kenny and Cody, 100% don't. They are. I mean, Cody when he was there, and a lot of people gave him crap for it, right? But he felt the need to do it, even though he certainly wasn't even close to finishing or retiring, right? But he made sure that being in the position...
Malachi Black?
No, I was just saying he made sure by being in the position that he was in backstage that he wasn't going to do a Triple H. And and have, oh, well, I'm in power, so I'm going to give myself the title. And right, he put everybody over. He was helping put other talent over. Again, even though he's nowhere close to being retired or finishing, but he did that. And Kenny Omega's the same. Like, the only reason he ended up getting the world title is because the fans were screaming for it. We want to see Kenny as a champion, so
Well, not only that, because they were in the pandemic, so they had to call like a real. That's why they put the belt on the Elite like as quickly as they did. I was like, because if they didn't, they would have died.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
But Kenny is happy. Like you hear the stories about people. People have a lot of respect for him backstage, and that he's very easy to come up to and talk to about things, or some people can, hey, same with the Young Bucks. Actually, I've seen it on Being the Elite. People going up saying, hey, can I run this story and to you about my character and where I want it to go, and they'll being in their position, they'll take it into consideration. They'll obviously take it to Tony, and Tony gets the final say, obviously. But these are guys that don't have an ego like Punk. That's not all about themselves. Those guys are pointed out, Cody included, because he was there. He helped get it started. They all wanted to work together with the rest of the talent to move that company forward. To me, CM Punk
real quick, guys. I got to take off. I'm going to try and be back, but I've got a message from a friend I haven't spoken to in a while, so I'm going to take off and go touch base with them. So.
You're all right,
Paul. Good. You good?
No worries, brother. Thank you for stopping by, and hopefully we'll see you before the end of the podcast. Back anyway, brother.
Yep. If not next week after the pay-per-view, and I'll have a lot to say then, I'm sure. So.
Will do, brother. All right, you take it easy, man.
Okay, talk to you later.
But yeah, I think with Punk, and you'll agree with this, Josh. He is to me. It's all about him. It always is about him, and I would have thought by this time and this stage of his career. You've had the fanfare, bro. Every wrestling fan knows who the hell you are. Whether they like you or hate you, it doesn't matter. They know who you are. You've had multiple world championships and multiple promotions. You've had your main event status. I mean, right, you still, want to be in the main event status. That's fine, but it can't be all about you,
Yeah.
It should be about putting other talent over. Now, don't get me wrong, mind you, too. Obviously, there is some talent that are on his side there. FTR being one of them. They're like his best friend,
they Bret Hart boys, so they're Bret Hart dudes.
Yeah, right. And there is a couple of others that have come up that are obviously have come out speaking glowingly about Punk, saying, he's been detrimental to me and giving me advice and rah, 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 rah. So obviously this comes back to obviously there's many cliques backstage, which we know happens in wrestling, has been happening for years. So he's got his own clique of people that obviously will back him up, will say good things about him, that he's obviously happy to help and stuff like that. But then you've got the other flip side of it where there's a bunch of people that don't like you and think you're egotistical and think you're an ass. And I just think Tony giving him the power is not a good idea, especially even for morale backstage. Seeing that this one guy seems to have everything and anything given to him, I suppose you could say, is not going to be beneficial in the long run. You might think, this is cool pleasing him, but who are you not only pissing off but upsetting in the process? And some of the people that you are pissing off and upsetting in the process are people that actually were there from the beginning that helped. Well, a few of them, it was their idea. It was just your money that helped them.
I'm about to say, you weren't even here in the beginning. You didn't even believe in it at first. You waited a whole year to sign with us. You didn't show up at All In, the first All In. You didn't show up in the first of it. You weren't here year one. At least Cody can say, I was here, bro. I built this shit. Ricky say, I was here, bro, trying to figure out shit.
Yeah. Exactly. This was the Young Bucks, Cody's and Kenny's idea. And Tony Khan helped just get it off the ground with the money, right? And obviously he has contacts in the media because of what him and his dad are involved in with other sports and that.
Yep.
And, obviously even getting to Wembley Stadium, that's a lot in due part to Tony and his connections via the soccer team that they own over there as well. He knows a bunch of the media and Sky Sports and everything in the UK. So, they possibly don't get the deal done to hold it at Wembley Stadium without Tony Khan in that respect. There's a few little things, as I said, I will give him credit for. Obviously talking the TV networks, getting them the TV deal, etc., etc. But at the end of the day, it wasn't your idea. You befriended the people that its idea it was. One of whom has gone back to the WWE. But I wouldn't want to be upsetting them. And the only good thing is you've just got the whole of the elite locked back under lock and key again for multi-year deals. So that's good in that sense. But still, you don't want to go pissing the people off that helped you get it started. And that also includes, some of this younger talent. Like, I know he's just been saying it, and we know he's been saying it just more from a story point of view, MJF, with the whole, the battle of 2024, that's going to happen between WWE and AEW for my services. But if you're going to put so much focus on Punk and not on him, which it should be on him, he's one of the youngest in on that roster. He's the one who's going to continue to carry your company forward when the Kenny Omegas and the Young Bucks and that, because they are older, are gone. Or are wrestling part-time, obviously because of their age and stuff, then he's going to walk. He's going to walk straight over to the opposition. And right at this point in time, with everything that's going on, with all the reports coming out, with backstage morale sometimes being good, sometimes being bad, but it's basically been all over the shop, it would not come as a shock if MJF leaves next year. And
I wouldn't be as shocked as well. I was shocked actually the Elite resigned. Actually, that's a lie. I wasn't shocked because I get it that they want to resign, like this is their baby. They still want to be with it. But I can see Punk steering people away. I can see Punk steering people away, and it's like, okay, you don't want us here. If Tony Khan wants to could still be your bitch, call it what it is, be your bitch, and just not stand up to you and say like, yo, you need to chill out. You have to like legit chill out. Then I'm out. I'll leave. I'll take my talents elsewhere.
I think he has to be careful with MJF too, because as I said, apart from what I've just talked about, he's already got a friend over there. And WWE, he knows WWE, if they can get their hands and get him to sign on the dotted line, that they will do anything to do it, right? So I don't even think really for MJF it's going to come down to money, because we know Tony can compete money-wise, but on contracts. But I think it's going to come down to how he's feeling about the landscape of AEW and if he believes it's going to be beneficial to him. Because if he doesn't, and then he goes talking to Cody, and Cody goes, you know what, right now you probably are better off over here. You probably get used and treated better. Then I think
I will say, I'm going to bring up one last thing too before we move on to the next topic.
Right.
Vince McMahon is an old dude, right? He just had, I think he just said he had back surgery. He's all good.
Yes,
That's all good and well. Well, I think you know where I'm going with this. I'm not trying to be morbid or dark, but nobody is promised forever. Eventually, Triple H is head of creative and booking as we right now, and I think we all could feel like he's the heir apparent successor to Vince.
Yep, and he's
now it's Triple H. Yeah, well respected in the wrestling community by mostly everybody.
Yeah,
it's very hard to find people that don't dislike.
Half Triple the H reason, the main reason that some of the talent that has come back there over the last
Triple H
is Triple H. Yep. So I think that's a big factor, and with him, people are going to be like, hey, the storylines over there make sense and they're really well thought out. The talent over there is getting used correctly and treated well. Over here, it's just it's all over the shop. It's a bunch of misfits running the show. It's storylines can be good, but they're not consistently good. A
lot of stop-starts for a lot of characters. We talked about Miro finally getting back.
You've got a hierarchy of the boss down to the talent, and that's the way it is.
You have leaders in the locker room. You have leaders in the locker room. You have WWE does not play those games. But nobody's in the history of that company. Name me a person that's actually ran the asylum that wasn't the warden.
And so that's what I'm saying. Tony Khan, if he wants to avoid a walkout of people when their contracts are coming to an end, he needs to change this, and he needs to be that authority figure. I mean, it's your company, so you need to set the ground rules. You need to be not being friends with these people. You're their boss, right? You need to start acting like it, right? If they don't like a decision, you piss people. Well, tough shit. Do you think Vince gives a shit if people hate him or no?
Ever. No. Vince got rid of the Ultimate Warrior, He looked at the Ultimate Warrior as his son and said, yo, I'm getting rid of you.
Yeah.
Said, I'll deal with it. And now, don't get me wrong, that does lead to everlasting beef that takes probably 2 decades.
It does. It does.
Keep it up. But Vince is like, oh, you're not bigger than my company.
No, you need to set that precedent. You need to set that ground. You need to enforce that respect. Like, I am your boss. You are my employee. You are going to do what I tell you to do. I'm not going to give you the power. Hence why, and Tony really needs to take a look at Vince and the WWE. That's why WWE is still in existence and earning millions and millions of dollars and haven't gone out of business, because Vince never, ever, 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 ever let any of the big stars there have any kind of power that was going
John Cena, Undertaker, Triple H, Stone Cold, Rock. He said, "No, I don't care how big and how over any of you all are. At the end of the day, you can say what you want about it." He was like, "Yo, I'm the warden of this asylum. Like, y'all not taking control of it."
The only thing he would allow is for them to have a bit of creative input in their character.
Yes.
That was well known, especially with Taker, and he even allowed the power to Taker to decide when the streak came to an end. That was all Taker's decision, right? Not his.
I agree. I agree with that too. So, I feel like there are wrestlers out there that should deserve that privilege. Like, hey,
if they,
maybe not just all. I think all, because I think this is my character. I want to have an input, like how we use it, how we do it.
Yes.
But and like you said, I'm basically echoing with everything you said. But like, no, that was Vince's biggest issue. Still is, in fact.
Yeah, and so having that, like, working with a talent like that is on a completely different level to then what Tony Khan's done with CM Punk. Here's the keys, and you got all the power. I mean, right now, you may as well say, at least when it pertains to Collision, that's Punk's baby. Punk's show. Punk's the man. He's the boss. Right? Obviously, he's the boss. He's the one telling people to go home. Not Tony. Like, that's bad. That's really,
you can't
really
have
bad.
You cannot have Kenny Omega or Adam Page not on Collision, like, for a wrestling match. Like,
but he's dictated. No, and that's what I mean. Like, giving that power to him to dictate, and that's exactly what's happening, to dictate who the hell is on that show, who's allowed there, is just that's baffling to me. And I agree with Bischoff. It's going to get far worse until he takes that power off of him. No talent in that company should have that type of power. That's Hogan type of power, and we all seen what happened to WCW because of that.
We also happened to TNA.
In TNA as well, right? It's not good. It creates a lot of issues amongst talent, as I said, for standout reasons. Oh, he only gives a shit about this person compared to all of us. Don't give a crap about any of us. Or he only cares and loves CM Punk, and we're all just nothing. We're all fodder, Like, it's going to create issues like that. It's going to create issues where, like Bischoff said, he should be made. Like, put you and your lead, or you and Paige, you and Nick, not Nick Nemeth, that's Dolph Ziggler. You and Dolph's brother, Ryan, put your bull crap at the door. Leave it at the door.
That's who his brother is? He's Dolph's brother?
Nemeth.
I was wondering why he looks so familiar to me.
Yeah, and because that's their last name is Nemeth. So, yeah, you leave your BS at the door when you turn up for work, and if you have to work together, tough shit, you just have to get along while you're here at work. You don't have to get along outside of work. You just have to get along while you're here at work. Because, as I said, this whole keeping people, it's not going to work for too much longer. It's just not. And it's going to hurt the shows by, So these people need to be sat down and at least get to a point where they can have respect in their workplace, because that's where they are at that time, workplace, and just do their freaking job that they're paid to do. Instead of allowing one guy to go, well, I don't like him, so I'm not working with him. He's not coming on this show. And if I happen to turn up to Dynamite, then you got to tell them they're not allowed to be at Dynamite. Like, no. You're the boss, bro. Take your power back before it's too late. Before it's too late. So, again, like, I'm like yourself. Obviously, yeah, sure. We could all say there's bitterness on Bischoff's behalf. He'd love to still be in control of a wrestling company. That's kind of evident. But in this case, and everything he said about Tony, I'm 100% behind. He's 100% correct. He's been there, done that. He knows. And he can see the same shit happening again. And eventually, as I said, money is going to get low because, you know, if the viewership gets low, therefore the ratings get low. So therefore, you know, the networks, like they did back in the day with WCW, and this is the same network, might turn and go, you're not doing as well as what you were once doing. We're going to say bye-bye, kiss, you know. So then you're not getting money there, and then it's hard to try and find another network. Like WWE has found that at times where they've had to really move around to different sort of networks before settling on one. That's not an easy thing to achieve. And then,
I remember like USA was been the only one that's been on a constant network. I mean,
yeah.
SmackDown bounced around like for years.
Yeah.
Like, sci-fi
exactly. It did.
UMPN, it was all over the place. I can't even name it. Like,
so
Fox
it's not,
became the official home for them.
You have that go down. You have Morel go down. Then wrestlers contract. Then they're leaving at the end of their contract because they've had enough and a gutful. And eventually, you know, the way you've been running your company, it's going to go out of business. Just like the two companies that you're trying to emulate, which you really should not be emulating. Two companies that did things so badly and so poorly that they're no longer, well, as I said, one's no longer around anymore, and the other is a shell of its former self. So you need, and I'm not saying by any means that he needs to completely copy WWE, but God, if you're going to emulate any company, emulate them and how they do business and handle business. Because they're still in business, and they're going to continue to still be in business because of the way they run things. That's how you should be running your company. So start, you know, Tony or anybody that might be listening, possibly from AEW, go and tell the Khan man, he's the boss. He's the one who signs and writes the paychecks. Start acting like the boss and take that control back. And stop making these silly decisions. No wrestler should have the power that you're given, plain and simple. If you want this company to thrive, and by Jesus, it's got a chance to thrive. It's great to have a big alternative to WWE. Then changes need to be made. Listen to Eric. You might not get along with the man anymore, but in this case, listen to him. He's been down this path, you know, and he may not. You know, as I said, they might not like each other, but it's clear to me that Bischoff doesn't want to see AEW, you know, go down the same path and go out of business a bit. You know, he wants to see them thrive, but changes need to be made. But moving right along into the next segment, Edge, as we've seen on SmackDown, had his last match on the current contract, and he's told many person that his contract is officially up as of September. For those that didn't see the footage that's been going around, he told his hometown Toronto crowd after SmackDown stopped airing that would be likely the very last time that he's going to wrestle in front of them, because he doesn't think he'll be wrestling again by the time, obviously, at least WWE gets back around to them. And there's a lot of speculation on his future, whether he's officially fully going to hang it up, or is he going to join some friends over in AEW and have a little run in AEW before he hangs it up. So what's your thoughts on this situation, Josh?
I do not want to see that man in AEW, bro. I do not want to do it. It's time for Edge to walk away. I love Edge. I am a huge fan of Edge. Edge was one of the first wrestlers that I hated, that I loved to hate. Let me put it like that. Since he was a heel during that leader, like that Edge leader era, the Vicky Edge era, like for real.
Yeah.
It's like I love Edge. Like I grew up loving Edge, and it is sad to see. I'm happy that he got a second run. I'm so happy about that because I remember like when he had to retire, it was devastating for many of us. Can you still hear me? I'm just making sure my mic's still working.
Yeah, you're working, bro. Yeah, we can all.
Okay. All right, cool. But no, I remember that. Like I was like devastated. So seeing him come back at the Royal Rumble was lit. Seeing him get on this second one where he's wrestled Brian Danielson, AJ Styles, AJ Styles, Seth Rollins, and just the list, Finn Balor, the list goes on and on. And it's just like I'm so happy for him. We all know he's one of the goats, definitely one of the goats of the modern era of WWE.
Yeah. He is.
So I think maybe if he wants to go over there, maybe hang out with Christian, do one last ENC run, I won't knock it, but it's kind of like how I look at the Hardys, like do your last run and just time to hang it up. But in terms of Edge, I think Edge's been a WWE lifer his entire life, so maybe he'll retire with the company. Maybe he'll just like go into acting because I know he's part of the new Percy Jackson show.
Yes.
That's on Disney Plus.
Yep.
So we'll see where that goes. I hope he succeeds in his acting career, and I'm just hoping Edge, like
he did
hope
really
Edge does great
well.
life.
If you I don't know if you remember, but he had a big role on quite a few seasons of the sci-fi show Haven.
Yeah, I remember Haven. Yep.
Yeah, he actually does have quite good acting chops. So I think that's where he's better off heading now. I thought,
especially when you see like Batista and all of them doing it.
Now, I've even talked to Trin about this. Now, just because this is his last contract at the moment with WWE doesn't mean that he can't sign another short-term contract. I personally, with the state of AEW right now, would not like to see him go over there. Even for an ENC run. Like, don't get me wrong, there's a couple of wrestlers over there I would love to see him, wrestle before he retires, but I wouldn't waste my time at the moment going over there. I just wouldn't, because I don't think the storyline or anything would be done right for him. I was quite happy that he got to, him and Sheamus had never actually wrestled each other before, and they're friends.
That was a great match too.
Yeah,
that was a great match.
Sheamus helped him get back into the ring this time around as well. So I thought that whole story and everything was really good. I'd like to see him sign another short contract, because this is just my opinion for me, and see if you agree with this. For someone of his caliber, like you said, he's been a WWE lifer, but for someone of his caliber, I would love to see him just wrestle until next year's WrestleMania and go out at WrestleMania next year. Go out on the grand stage, have one last final match, hurrah, next year, and then retire. Retire hanging up.
There's no better way. But the only
there's
definitely no better way. But I think the only thing about that just if Edge's body can just keep up. Like we tried to do it with the Undertaker for so many years.
This is why I think
it did not work.
Right, because his contract's up now, right? So you keep him off TV for the rest of this year, right? You don't need him in any storyline that. You bring him around sometime like either around the Rumble or just after the Rumble, and he can start building something with somebody then that leads into WrestleMania. Because it's just going to be that one-off match. That's what I would do. I would sign a short-term contract where, he might get a couple of little matches just leading into WrestleMania, and then have his one big final. So maybe like a 4-match, 3 or 4 match contract, right? And then, because just to me, I don't want to see him retire just on a weekly show. I don't want that to be his last match. I think for him, it needs to be on a big stage. I mean, what better way to have your final match in front of 90,000 plus at Philadelphia at WrestleMania 40, right? I think it'd be perfect. And there's a few...
I can't be mad at it.
No, there's a few...
I really can't. I just the only thing is that I don't think Edge can do it. I think this year's WrestleMania should be really heavy on the next generation of WWE superstars. And that's my take right there.
If it was me, because they really kind of didn't get to have that one-on-one match. And he could he doesn't have to win at WrestleMania. He could put the guy over. I'd like to see him and Finn Balor at WrestleMania next year. And
him and Finn Balor?
Yeah.
Again at the last year's WrestleMania?
Yeah. I don't think they really fully got to settle that. I don't want to see him against Dom or Priest. But I think Finn Balor would be a fine last opponent for him. If not Finn, the only other person, and this is more just from, it would be a good match to go out on from history's sake, him against Randy.
Him and Randy, I think, will be a good one.
Yeah, because they had not only their fierce rivalry, but they also had that team up of, rated RKO, right? So the history, and it doesn't have to exactly be like, we got to build up a good storyline here. Like there's history already between them. Be a fine match, and it'd just be a nice way for him to go out. That's all I want to see. I want to see him go out on a big pay-per-view, and that's not, it's in the realm of possibility. Because you don't have to keep him on TV now. He can go off for a little while, and then you just, as I said, you bring him back for like a 3-match thing, so he has 2 little warm-up matches beforehand to get him ready for WrestleMania, and then he has his last hurrah there, waves goodbye to the fans. That, for me, would be the ultimate. So it'd be so respectful and deserving that man has done wonders for that company. And I just think that's just the perfect send-off. Like, Taker got that kind of set-off at WrestleMania himself. I think Edge deserves it. Obviously, the difference between the two is Edge can still go, as we heard from that crowd. You still got it. He does still got it. Obviously, he has to wrestle a little bit of a safer style, obviously, since coming back because of his neck. But he could still go in that ring. And I think with either Finn or Randy, he would put on a hell of a match that people will remember as his final match. And, it'll be great. And, I mean, next year he turns 50, I think, so it'd be beautiful to see. And that's all I want to see with Edge, I just think, going out quietly on a weekly show is just... I don't know. It just doesn't seem befitting of him. If he wasn't such a lifer and what he's achieved and everything, it might be a different story. But for him, someone of his caliber and stature, yeah, I think WrestleMania would just be better. And if they did it the way I said, where, as I said, he doesn't need to be kept around now. You bring him back around Royal Rumble time and build it from there with whoever you want to put him against. Doesn't have to be Finn or Randy, but as long as you're picking someone, could even be AJ Styles. I mean, as long as it's someone that's going to be a memorable last match with, I think that would be really, really great to see. We'll see. We'll see.
I can definitely see it.
Yeah, we'll see how they do it. We'll see what he wants to do, obviously. It's all going to come down to what he wants to do. But I really hope and pray that he doesn't choose or doesn't get convinced by Christian to go over to AEW right now, because it's just... I
can't see it, honestly. No, I really can't see him over there.
It's just not in a good place right now. I may have agreed to it if his contract had ended soon and... he just went over there for one match at this All In. I may have said, okay, that'd be pretty cool, going out in front of 5,000 people. But it's not. So, yeah, nah. So, hopefully, as I said, he chooses the latter of what I was talking about. And, we see one last match of his at WrestleMania, and he can ride off into the sunset with his wife and his daughters. Just another quick tidbit before we get into the last two topics here. So, former WWE creative writer has claimed, it's only just come in within 15 minutes ago, that WWE's current buzz, in his opinion, surpasses that of the Attitude Era. So, according to a writer who witnessed both eras, the current and the Attitude Era, WWE is currently generating more excitement than it did during any time in the Attitude Era. WWE's current business is thriving on a grander scale, even if it hasn't quite achieved the same level of mainstream recognition that it did in the 90s. But former WWE writer Brian Gerwitz shared his perspective on this comparison during an episode of The Masked Man show. He provided examples to support the notion that there is more excitement currently surrounding WWE now than during the Attitude Era. And I'll quote from him, here are 3 things WWE has going for it now that are way better than in the Attitude Era, and it's not even confined to the on-screen product. 1, obviously, is the money it's bringing in, the rights deals for TV shows. It benefited from the fact that even though viewing is more fragmented now with streaming platforms, social media, video games, and everything else, WWE, like most live sports, is a show you need to watch live for the most part if you really, really want to follow what's going on. 2, the respectability that WWE has now. As a writer there, I hated when we switched to the PG era. I thought it was stifling. especially because Vince himself had said it was the PG era, but really it was the G era. But it really planted the roots and the groundwork to WWE gaining respectability again with the advertisers and Hollywood in general, because it made it safe for mums and dads to watch with their kids. Goetz also pointed out, excuse me, out that WWE's portrayal of its women's division today is drastically different from what was observed during the Attitude Era.
That's 100%.
Yeah,
that's 100%.
It's not even comparable to the way it was treated and presented in the Attitude Era. It's not that the women in the Attitude Era couldn't do the things that the women today are doing, but the mindset at the time was the audience does not want to see the women in a cage match or a ladder match, and that mindset has been a complete 180 now. One distinction Brian highlighted between the Attitude Era and the present-day product is the more gradual evolution in presentation compared to the rapid changes witnessed back then. Said current WWE's progression has been very gradual, whereas the difference between the Attitude Era versus, say, the Duke the Dumpster Draws, Doink the Clown, and T-Hell Hopper era that preceded it was astronomical. And it's a fact that you had between Nitro and Raw an average, whatever it is, of 10 million people not only watching, but all watching at the same time. I don't think that mindset, though, can be replicated. So, yeah, great little thoughts there from a former writer, and a lot of what he said there he's correct on, especially with the women's division. The women's division now is looked upon a lot more favourably than it ever was, and we're actually seeing really great matches.
Wrestling.
Yeah, wrestling.
Wrestling, like women, real women's wrestling.
They were more used as eye candy back in the day, and that's really about it. You know, they had the mud matches, the pillow fights, and all that silly stuff back then. But it was a different time.
I can't speak on much on the Attitude Era, because I would say the Attitude Era ended 2004, 2005, around there.
Yeah, around the early 2000s. Yeah.
Okay, because that's when I kind of started watching early ruthless aggression era.
Yeah.
So even the women's wrestling back then, it was still like you said, eye candy, pillow fight, but it took Lita and Trish really to show that we can wrestle. And I'm talking about the audience.
Yeah.
I'm talking to the audience in backstage. You're we can wrestle, and then it took obviously Michelle McCool. It took Alicia Fox. It took the Four Horsewomen. Obviously, it took NXT. It took NXT to show that we can wrestle.
Yeah, exactly.
And for us to get the main event spots and all of that. So yeah, most definitely I can see. In terms of the storytelling, I think the Attitude Era, I would say, had better stories than today's wrestling.
Yeah,
I think today's wrestling is a lot highly predicated on just great matches. I don't think a lot of people don't want to see the stories. And that's why I think the Bloodline storyline is so great, is because we don't always see something like this. This storyline's been going on for 3 years now. Yeah. We don't see a lot of storylines that go this far, maybe not even a year.
Right.
So for that to go that far, yeah. And also, it's also, I think, the last thing we talked about earlier, too, about AEW. I think wrestling has been on fire lately from both WrestleMania and AEW, that it's new blood, so to speak. Vince isn't as in control as he once was, so now it's we have new people who can give the audience what they like now. Yeah,
you're not wrong. You're not wrong. But yeah, moving into the second last topic before we get into the big one coming up this weekend, All In. WWE's future plans for the Judgment Day hint at departure from the group. And it's not the departure that most probably have in their heads right now. So allegedly, WWE has established a comprehensive strategy for the future of the Judgment Day. According to recent update by the Wrestling Observer, the overarching intention is for Damian Priest, not Finn Balor, to eventually distance himself from the group. This shift in direction could potentially entail a transformation back into a heroic character. Although it remains uncertain at this point, there's speculation that JD McDonough might step into Priest's role within the faction. This speculation gains traction due to previous discussions about McDonough potentially becoming a new member of the Judgment Day. These discussions initially emerged several months ago when backstage segments featuring McDonough and Finn Balor began airing. So this is a little interesting piece of thing because for a little bit now, just I guess from what we've seen play out on the weekly shows, it kind of looked like Finn Balor might be the one to leave the group and distance himself. But now, from all indication, it seems like it's going to be Damien that they will be riding to leave the group.
I think that's the right choice, too, to give it to Damien. I just disagree with making him a face. Keep him as a heel, and I think you're going to like what I say next. Right. I would say make him a Paul Heyman guy. Like, they did a little tease with him and Paul Heyman. I was like, hold on. I like what I saw there. I'm like, all right, him and Paul Heyman could make some magic. Like, you know how Paul Heyman did, like, the Paul Heyman agency or something like that with Cesaro and Curtis Axel and all. I'm like, nah, bring that back. But like, I would say do it with Damian Priest. Let's see how he does, and then we could build upon that. But I'm not going to take everything Dave Meltzer says as fact. No offense.
No, of course not. He's
a historian. Listen, I got mad respect for Dave Meltzer too, but it's like, yo, you've been borderline wrong a lot sometimes.
Exactly. He's like you said, he's been borderline wrong, but then of course he's been right on a lot of things too, and I suppose it's one of those things, you win some, you lose some on your reporting, but no, yeah. I think he's probably not wrong with this, especially over the last couple of weeks. That definitely looks like the way it's looking. Like McDonough's been very heavily involved in this Judgment Day storyline, and I think they're going to turn on Damien at some point, because he's obviously Finn's best friend. So he's gonna bring him in. They're gonna do Damien dirty. Maybe it might lead to a match, but if they're going to go in the face direction, which obviously they possibly are by the sounds of it, it'll be Finn and JD versus Damien and Bad Bunny, I would imagine, at some point, because we know Priest is very close with Bad Bunny. But in my opinion, I either agree they do something like you said, or if they don't do that, keep him as a tweener. Like, don't make him go full babyface. I think he would work better as, like, let him be a badass. Let him do...
Like they're doing with Melo, like
let him
NXT.
Do, yeah. Let him do, I guess you could say, heelish type tactics, but let him get over with the crowd where they love him. Look at Austin. Austin did a lot of heelish tactics, even though he was technically written down as a babyface, right? But he did a lot of heelish tactics, but the fans loved it, right? The fans loved it. So do the same thing here. I don't think you need to really send him over to the goody two-shoes side. You could keep him sort of being this dark, being this brooding badass, and I think the fans would eat that up, and I think that would work better for him, other than being a full-blown heel, because as a babyface, like, it worked for a little while, but then the cheers and everything started to wane down. So I think you kind of need to find a little middle ground there with him, when it pertains to Damian Priest, because fans probably want to cheer him, but they probably want to see this badass that he is, and I think fans are even liking how he kind of is right now. Is Senor Money in the Bank. So. No, it'll be interesting to see when they go to execute this. Obviously this by the sounds of it will probably be a bit of a slow burn of the splitting of the group kind of thing in that instance. But I also have said for a little while now, I think Rhea Ripley's going to split away from them eventually too.
Bro, I think they need to do it with Rhea at this point. Yeah. Not now, but like eventually, because I'm a huge Rhea Ripley fan. I think that it just feels like Rhea's title reign is missing something. probably a rivalry that they need to do eventually.
I
But
think,
it's like,
yeah, well, with her, I've said it. I think she's going to drop the title very soon to Raquel. Makes sense to me. She did that in NXT.
I think they're. I'm about to say, I think they're booking that for Payback in a
Yeah.
couple weeks.
They had their rivalry down in NXT. Raquel was the one to end her run in NXT. I think she's going to be the one to do it here. It makes a lot of sense too. They're both, got good size about them. So from a believability standpoint, considering they've made Rhea this monster heel in the women's division, it makes sense to me for someone like Raquel to take her down. And maybe after that, they slowly do the split with her and Dominic. I think Dominic needs to stay a heel for as long as possible.
Oh yeah, definitely
Working for him in spades.
He's heel for the next 10, 15 years.
Oh yeah.
If not the next 6. Like, he does not need to go back to being a face until his father retires.
Yes, yeah, for sure. So interesting times ahead for the Judgment Day. Again, I think that storyline's going to take a bit more precedence now, while the Bloodline storyline takes a little bit of a backseat until around the Royal Rumble time.
I'm glad, and I'm actually glad that they're doing that. They said, Bloodline's going to take a break. I think that's it's kind of like a television show that goes on hiatus.
Well, it's good because, I said it just a couple of weeks ago. I think it's the storyline starting to become a little bit, getting a bit to that point where it's like, we're a bit over this now. It's been 3 years.
I wouldn't say that, because I still invested into the storyline. It's just that I think the Bloodline storyline takes up so much of the airtime because everybody's tuned in to see it that nobody else gets a chance.
But I think the other thing that's hurt is that everybody now knows they're waiting until next year's WrestleMania until Roman drops. So it's like, maybe take him off TV for a little bit himself now. Like, I mean, we're already used to him not defending the title all the time, so he doesn't really need to really be around until like Royal Rumble time himself, where they can start doing that build between him and Cody. Obviously, at this point,
him and Cody or him and Seth, whatever the plan is, it still probably is Cody most likely. But
if it is Cody, then as I said to Paul this time around, Cody needs to enter 1 or 2 in the Rumble, go through the whole lot and win it. Because obviously the Royal Rumble winner gets to choose, similar like the Money in the Bank gets to choose who they want to go for. That's the only way you get him back there, because I don't see any other way to get him across to SmackDown otherwise. That he'll
be a back. That'll make him a back-to-back Royal Rumble winner. That'll make him back-to-back.
But I think this time around, you need to have him enter 1 or 2 and last the whole Rumble. That's the only way it's going to work. That's the only way to keep the fans behind, because the fans, as much as, obviously he's quite popular and over with fans, a lot of them did not like the fact he came in last and didn't do anything.
No, that was that was the big thing.
So this
I
time
wasn't
around,
a fan of that either.
This time around, he needs to do a HBK and a Rey Mysterio last the whole time. Enter 1 or 2 and make him run through the whole Rumble. It'll give a better story to it too. To
definitely
rebuild him back up. Oh, he's just gone through, 30 other guys or 29 other guys to get all the way back here after taking match after match with Brock, and so it just adds to that story. Like, okay, now after all this turmoil that this poor bastard's been through, now he's ready to take down Rome. He's back at that stage. He's ready to take him down. He's learnt from his mistake at last year's WrestleMania, and we're going to see him, finally.
And that will be the end of the Bloodline storyline right there, because that's where you can start saying Solo could turn on Roman and et cetera, et cetera.
Exactly.
That's got to be the end of it.
Exactly. All right, well, now we're at that point, the last topic, an interesting topic. It's been billed as one of the biggest events in history, definitely going to be one of the biggest wrestling events in AEW's history, or if not...
Damn sure one of the biggest, because next year WrestleMania is the biggest.
Exactly.
That's some crazy... That is some slick shit, too. That is crazy.
I know. But 81,000 tickets so far have been sold, so they overtook WrestleMania 32's record. And at big Wembley Stadium, which is, it's funny, it's good. It's also celebrating the 100th anniversary of Wembley at the same time.
I know about that. That's actually, I know about that.
Yeah. So that coincides really well with that. That's probably another reason why Tony wanted it there. That's kind of a big deal thing too, and just in itself. So for that week's celebration is just going to be, this week's celebration, sorry, I should say, is going to be massive. But now on to the card and that we've got ahead of us right now. There's still a possibility because we've still got Dynamite and Collision to go this week that maybe I'll at least say one more match gets added. The only reason I say that is, this is the last week they can do what I was thinking. There's still been quite, whether you want him there, you like him, hate him, or whatever, there's still been a lot of rumours surrounding Bill Goldberg. So, and I said to Paul last week, if he's going to be a part of this event, they need to have him show up on one of these shows leading up to it, because if the whole point is to just go off his name to get a couple more tickets sold, then people need to know that he's going to be there. so you're not going to get that with a surprise, because if he just turns up at the event, well, the people are already at the stadium. So I'll be intrigued to see if he's going to show up in any regard. And at this point, we were thinking for a while, because we know he was asking for it, that it was possibly going to be a match between him and Wardlow, but I don't think that's going to be the case now. I think he may just show up. I don't know in what match or what he's going to do, but I think he's just going to show up. But again, I think they need to, whether he shows up on Dynamite or Collision, or whether they at the very, very least just announce, hey, Goldberg's going to be at Wembley. They need to do something, because otherwise, in my eyes, there's no point. If the whole point's just to use him for namesake to put a couple more extra asses in seats, well, you need to at least announce it. So the card so far, before we get into speculation, so obviously at the top of the show, you've got MJF and Cole, who'll be doing double duty, taking on Aussie Open for the
very interesting with
tag
that
team championship.
Very interesting.
Yeah. And then, of course, we've got FTR versus the Young Bucks, which is being billed as who's the greatest tag team in AEW. And that's, of course...
That's my match in there there, honestly.
The Fatal 4-Way match for the women's title between Britt Baker, Saraya, Tony Storm, and Hikaru Shida. We've also
I swear to God, I'm sorry to cut you off. I swear to God, if Tony Khan puts the belt on Saraya, I'm going to lose my shit. I will lose my shit. I'm sorry.
Darby and Sting, of course, taking on the Mogul Embassy, AR Fox, and Swerve Strickland in a tag team coffin match. First time we've seen in off the top of my head that there's been a tag team coffin match. Usually you see that one-on-one. Then you've got the 6-man tag match, which should be a phenomenal match in itself, between Takeshita and Bullet Club Gold's Juice Robinson and Jay White, taking on the team of the Golden Elite, which will be Kota Ibushi, Kenny Omega, and Hangman Adam Page. This next match is going to be interesting, because when AEW's done it before, the stadium's been completely empty, but we're having a stadium stampede match with 80-odd thousand plus people in the stadium.
Quick sidebar: is that actually going to happen in the live with the crowd? Because I know, like you mentioned, they always do it.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, Wembley is a soccer stadium, so I'm like, all right, y'all might gonna do this early and then play it as a pre-record and show it to the crowd, and or they're gonna finish the match.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Are they gonna It's weird. Like, you get what I'm saying, or what they're gonna do.
Yeah, of course. So it's gonna be interesting to see how they do that. Because otherwise, I'm just sitting there thinking, God, that's gonna be hard to get in amongst the crowd and everything. But anyway,
I would have
we'll
just
see.
did it. I would have just did it as Anarchy in the Arena again. Keep it a book.
Will Ospreay against Chris Jericho, which I think should be a pretty good match. That match was actually meant to take place.
Not excited for that.
Couple years ago at New Japan. Will Ospreay is obviously going to carry Jericho a bit, but look.
Oh my God! My God!
Put it this way, I think it'll be a better match than the next one. Punk versus Samoa Joe for the Real World's Championship. I don't know how good of a match that is going to be at all. I really don't.
Yeah, your confidence is like mine.
Yeah,
And I know
look,
you a big Joe fan. So your
I
confidence
like it
like
for the fact of, look, there is a lot of history there between these two, and they, to this day, in a lot of wrestling fans' minds, had the best series of matches that any wrestling fans ever seen when they were both in Ring of
Ring
Honor.
of Honor days.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Ring of
They
Honor days.
were really, really great matches. You are not going to get, just so people are aware, you are not going to get anywhere close to that caliber of matches because they were obviously well and truly very, very young at the time. And prior to a lot of obviously injuries and stuff as well. So again, don't know how good of a match that's going to be. And then, of course, the main event, which I actually think will be the match of the evening, MJF versus Adam Cole, the top two guys in the company. That storyline, in my opinion, for me, has been just as good as the Bloodline storyline. Even though it's run for a shorter time, it's one of the best storylines in wrestling. I usually am so critical of AEW storytelling.
Yeah,
I can
this
say
is it.
This
is it.
really, really great. So let's go back to start. Aussie Open versus MJF and Cole. Who you thinking? Who you taking?
Aussie Open.
You think Aussie Open?
Yeah, it's predictable. Aussie Open because that's most likely going to be the swerve. Not the swerve, but the heel turn of either MJF or Adam Cole that they've been teasing between each other.
I think now this is what I'm going to say. I think you're right. I agree. I think Aussie Open retains, and I think Adam Cole turns heel at the end of this, and MJF goes babyface. This storyline has lent itself this way the whole time because to start this storyline, and obviously still right at this point in time, Adam Cole's the babyface, MJF is the heel. The storyline is, if anybody's been paying attention, is about MJF opening up and actually finally letting someone in, trusting somebody. Mm-hmm. And we had a bit of a tease on last week's Dynamite, I believe it was, when MJF's back was turned and Adam Cole was teasing to super kick him in the face. I think that's what happens at the end of this match after they lose. I think you see Adam Cole kick his head off. And then obviously, thankfully, they'll both get to rest for the rest of the show until the end, until they have to come back out. But yeah, I think that's what we see. And Adam Cole's going to turn heel. MJF is going to turn babyface. And it's being led up to believe that it could be one of the biggest babyface turns we've seen in a long time. I think the crowd's ready for a babyface MJF. I didn't think at all for quite some time that was ever in my imagination. Possible. No, I never in my wildest dreams would have thought that was possible. But if you're going to do it, now's the time to do it while he's getting that reaction that he's getting. And again, you don't have to change or tweak that character too much. Just let him be himself. Just targeting his crap at heels, right? And it'll work. That you don't need to make him kissing babies and all that kind of stuff. Because fans love him and the whole, I'm the devil, no one's better than the devil thing. Fans are eating it up. The next match on the card, brother, FTR versus Young Bucks. Which way you going?
This is a tough one.
Oh, yeah.
This is a tough one. Because a part of me, I'm going to go FTR.
Yep.
I can't see the Bucks don't need the titles. Because the Bucks don't need the titles. I can't really predict FTR the way that they've been acting and the way they've been on a run with the tag titles, and they've been putting on some great matches. I don't know if you saw the Jay White and Juice Robinson match. Yeah. They've been putting on great matches, so I think FTR is going to go over. Personally, I would have done this at a different pay-per-view for the main event because I think this is a rivalry and this is a match that could have gone 2 out of 3 falls like they did with Briscoes. This is
the rubber match. If that's how it's been built up, they've both teams won one each. So, me personally, now I would have agreed with you before this coming week. I would have turned around and said FTR, but with Cash Wheeler's recent incident,
Shit, I forgot all about that.
I have a feeling maybe plans may have changed, and I'm going to go with the Bucks. The other reason I'm also going to go with the Bucks, it's been a minute since they've had belts.
But they don't need it. That's the thing.
No, they don't, but it has been a minute. FTR has had some sort of tag team belts for the last year and a half or
3
so.
years?
Yeah.
2 years?
They've constantly had tag team gold. And look, it's not going to hurt either team here. Whoever is the loser, they are both great tag teams. I love FTR.
Yeah, they the top 5 of the generation.
Yeah, I love
Top 5 of the
FTR for
generation.
their old school tag team way. They so remind me of Tully and Arn, just a newer version. And I love that they've brought that kind of old fashioned smash mouth, style to the younger generation. I love it. It works for them. Perfect gimmick, everything. Of course, I love the Young Bucks. Always have been a huge fan of them for years.
You don't got to talk to me about the Bucks.
No, when they came on the scene, I was like, "Here's the new Hardy Boys." That is their inspiration too, and of course,
they're inspired by both Hardy Boys and Shawn Michaels. You could just see it. Yeah. Like it's just like they ooze.
So I think this will be. I think, as I said earlier, I think MJF and Cole is gonna steal the night. I think FTR and the Young Bucks will be a very, very close second. I think that's really going to get that crowd fired up because all 4 of these men are fantastic. They're going to put on a hell of a show, and get ready for probably possibly the best tag team match of the year. This is going to be right up there with the matches that FTR had with the Briscoe brothers, so should be interesting. The next match, the 4-way match for the women's championship. Who you picking and why?
God. A part of me wants this to go to Sheeta. I really feel like Tony's gonna put it on Saraya. I really feel like he's putting on Saraya, and it's like we don't want Saraya. We don't want Saraya.
Do you think that's the case because of where they are?
Yes.
Yeah.
And why is Saraya in this match?
Yeah.
Let's keep it about why is Saraya in this match? And I like Paige. I grew up liking Paige.
Yes,
I like Saraya. But let's keep it a buck. She cannot wrestle the way she would. It is.
No,
she looks like a log out there.
I actually think Ruby Soho should have been in there instead of Saraya. I also think Toni Storm has no right being in this match. I would have preferred to see Willow, Nightingale, or
Willow or Athena.
The other year, no, not Athena. I was more thinking along the lines the other young girl.
Sky Blue.
Yes, that they're built. That's the one, Sky Blue, who they're building up, who's had a couple of big wins lately. I would have liked to seen, as I said, 2 out of the 3 of those girls I just mentioned in there instead of Toni Storm. I've mentioned before, I cannot stand Toni Storm. I don't think she's a good worker in the ring, and she's boring on the microphone.
I would have put Ruby. Actually, I would have put Ruby Soho in this match.
If you were going to have one of those girls from that team in there, Ruby should have been in there. As for who I'm picking, I'm going to go Adam Cole's soon to be wife.
Britt Baker.
Miss DMD, yes. I'm a big Britt Baker fan. I think she's come leaps and bounds from where she initially was. She's top 5 women's wrestler in that company. She's a great leader for the women.
I disagree with that part. I think top 5 women's wrestler. I think she's the best talker on the mic. Wrestling is a different story. We gotta see on that.
Well,
not to say she can't be one, but we got to see still.
No, in my opinion, I think she is out of the women that wrestle constantly. I think even if she's sitting at number 5, I would, because as I said, she has come along leaps and bounds. She's very, very good at her technical side. I definitely will give her that, and that's thanks to Adam Cole, because he trained her up. I remember when the company first started, she was horrible. She was horrible.
Yeah, she was kind of.
I'm not going to sugarcoat it. She was horrible. But now she is a fantastic wrestler, and she's only going to continue to get. She can't get worse. She's only going to continue to get better. But no, she's taken a back seat for a while, and she was the one who purposely wanted that. Tony wanted to put the belt on her a little while, and she didn't want a bar of it. She goes, nope, I want to help put more women over. I want to help build this women's division. I want to stay out of the picture for a while.
Well, the only negative thing I guess you could say about Britt Baker, she always beefing with Thunder Rosa.
Yeah, and to be quite honest, I followed that, and I've heard and seen a lot, and that's more on Thunder Rosa. She's from a different other women's accounts, including Willow Nightingale. She is a pain in the ass, to say the least.
Like I don't know the story.
She's got an attitude. Yeah, she's got an
Okay.
attitude. She rubs a lot of the women backstage the wrong way. I would put that more on her than Britt. Britt is more amicable to discuss things and work things out, and Thunder Rosa just has been a pain in the ass about it. So, hence why there's a lot of the women that don't really care much. Most of the women were jumping for joy that she's been out and away.
I'm about to say we haven't seen Thunder Rosa since Collision started. I don't even know she's wrestled yet.
So she's apparently meant to be returning soon, which a lot of the women is not looking forward to because of her attitude and stuff. Look, I'll give the girl credit. She can go in that ring. She's fantastic in that ring, but you need to check yourself, because if you don't, there's going to be women that are calling for your head when your contract's up and you're not going to have a company to wrestle for. Well, not at least in the mainstream. But no, I look, personally, if I was going to go right out there, yes, that's who I'm going for. But as long as it was either Britt or it was Sheeta that walks out the champion, I'd be happy. As long as it wasn't one of the other two. But I agree with you.
I'm going Sheeta. Sheeta.
I
It's got
agree
to
with
be
you.
Sheeta, bro.
Look, I think Sheeta deserves to, because she only just won the title too.
Yeah.
So I think she should walk out. But I'm also in agreement with you. I get this really strong feeling that
It's Saraya.
Tony is going to give it to Saraya. Her being Pom, it being in England, her family's going to be there. You know, I think he's just going to play into that. Because
I swear to God, Tony, if you want to be, please be Vince McMahon for one night, beat Triple H for one night,
as we
and
know,
like, yo, screw you being home.
Yep, we touched on it earlier. He likes to be friends with these people instead of boss. So it wouldn't, put it this way, if that's what happens, I'm not going to be shocked, and neither are you. Obviously, you're not going to be shocked, because it's just going to be like, well, we told each other so that this was going to happen.
I'm more going to be concerned about like the long run. That's it.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
what do you do after she wins?
Yeah, exactly. The tag team coffin match, which I think should be a nice little match.
Yeah, I think that's going to be fun. I'm excited for that one.
And this apparently, and it's been rumored for a while, could very well be Sting's last match, and what a way for him to end his career at a big event like this.
Bigger than WrestleMania.
Yep, and you look, I'm not taking anything away from Sting. I think the man can still go. I'm surprised he still jumps off bloody things, and he's a crazy bastard. But look, he gets protected in this match because it's a tag team match. Even though the man can still do some things, he can still fully sit down with that Scorpion Deathlock, just like he always has. Who are you picking though? This to me is a real interesting one.
Yeah, this is a picky. This might be the first one. I'm gonna go Swerve and Company. I'm gonna go Mute Mogul Embassy.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna agree with you on this one. I think, because Sting, as we know, and he's been this way for quite a while now, he loves to put people over. He knows where he's at in his career, and he loves to put people over. I don't think a loss here hurts Darby as well. We've seen Darby be put in a coffin too, so it's not unusual for him. But I think you need to build up this AR Fox Swerve Strickland team. I think,
and I am loving it.
Yes.
I am loving the Mogul Embassy.
I think that they need a big win too. Just when I think Swerve, I love Swerve. And AR Fox, he's a fantastic
Swerve when I drive, Swerve when I drive. I'm sorry, Chad.
Sing it, bro. No, but like No, I think he needs a big win because just when I think he's going to get a big win, they have him lose. Like, they build him up and then they have him lose. And I hate when I see that happen to wrestlers. I think it's time that you give him a win. And now that AR, so I think they need this. I think they need a big win like this in front of a big crowd like this. And obviously, you know, you can't have all the baby faces win all the freaking matches either, is the other thing I look at. So I would love to see the heels come out on top here. Again, I think it's needed in this match for this team to just give them that extra rub, give them that extra push that I think they need, especially to continue and enhance this storyline, because if this is Sting's last match, then you could continue with these two boys, Mogul Embassy, you know, still fighting against Darby and Nick Wayne, because they all come from that. Well, those four.
Yeah, they
Darby,
come up,
Seattle.
Yeah,
Seattle, right? So you could continue that, and that also gives Darby and Nick something more to chase. Whereas if you have Darby come out on top here, to me it kind of flattens this whole storyline. You're not going to get much continuity because they're like, well, they beat him, you know. So that's another reason I would love to see Mogul Embassy come on top. And as I said, it's different for a coffin match. We're so used to seeing singles match with coffin matches. So having two coffins out there and you're going to put both, you know, the team members in there is a little bit of a different spin on it. So I like that as well. The fifth match, of course, of the evening, technically the sixth match, the Golden Elite versus Takeshita and the Bullet Club Golds, Jay White and Juice Robinson. Who you got?
this is another tough one for me. I'm gonna go Golden Elite, the Golden Cowboys.
Yeah. I this one's a tough one for me too, because really, especially with this match, it could really go either way.
Yeah.
Now, we know the Golden Elite had their win, their big win, even though it wasn't against the Bullet Club, it was against Blackpool Combat Club with Coda at the Blood and Guts match.
You know what? I take it back. I'm gonna go Kaneshka and crew because they're gonna run Kaneshka and Kenny Omega back at All Out.
Yeah.
So I think Kenny's gonna win that one.
I was about to say that I think maybe Bullet Club Gold. I think they're again to build that teaming up and really make them the more prominent Bullet Club, as Jay White's trying to say it is. They are
doing a great job of it.
Yes, I love it, and I love the team that they've got so far. I think
I'm very high on the Gun Club, and I've never thought I'd say that a day in my life.
No, they've got one of the best entrances too in wrestling. I love that.
Oh my god, that entrance is now the entrance gold, is amazing.
Bullet Club Gold, yeah. But no, I think
I see what you did there.
Yeah. But no, I think like you said, to continue the storyline between Omega and Takeshita, I think that team needs to win. I think the Bullet Club needs a good rub and put over to help build them up. And I don't. Again, it's not going to hurt the Golden Elite to lose a match. I think it'll be a fantastic 6-man tag with everybody involved. All 6 of these guys at the top of their game. All 6 can really go. So I think that's going to be a fantastic match. But yeah, I think we'll just say Bullet Club Gold as a whole. I think they will come out on top. Then we got the match that we're just got to wait to see how they're going to pull it off. Is it going to be pre-recorded? How are they going to play this out? The Stadium Stampede match between Eddie Kingston, Orange Cassidy, Best Friends, and the Lucha Brothers taking on the Blackpool Combat Club, but 3 other people that are yet to be announced, which should be announced on the shows this week. Yes. This one's an interesting one, and the only reason right now I'm actually not going to give a choice here is because I want to know who the other 3 people on the Blackpool Combat Club is.
Yeah, I'm curious about that, even though I might go Blackpool because Blackpool lost
last.
Call it?
Yeah.
They lost
Brian Danielson.
Not even Brian. They lost Blood and Guts. I had a
Blood and Guts. Yeah. They did.
They lost Blood and Guts, so I can see Blackpool coming out of this. But I can also see Eddie and company winning too because they're building Eddie up. I would assume just to take the Ring of Honor championship from
Oh yeah,
What's
well
homeboy
he's
name? Cesaro.
yeah. I mean he's already the New Japan. What is he? The open weight.
Is it open?
Open
Is he
weight or
open
something.
weight?
Open weight or something like that. Yeah, he's.
They have so many belts. That
I
forget
know, but
which is
he's
which.
got one of the New Japan championships. I know that, and yeah, they're definitely building him up. So that's what I mean. This could really go. This probably for me is the hardest one for me to just pick someone because it's so. Ooh, it's so split down the middle. Like it really could go either way. But as I said, I don't really want to give a choice because I want to see who the other three members of the Blackpool Combat Club's team's going to be. I'm really curious about that. I'm even scratching my head right now to think who could possibly join them. Right now, that's the more intriguing thing for me is who's the three that's going to join them because we already know it ain't going to be Brian Danielson because he's definitely out and will be missing this event, which sucks. But
Yeah, they got a lot of people missing.
Yeah,
like Jamie Hayter, Pac. They got a lot
yeah.
of people hurt, missing.
Pac.
The injury bug's been coming in hot lately.
Geez, that sucks for him too because he only just came back, Park.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's going to be interesting because, as I said, I'm really trying to think who's going to join them. It's got me beat right now, but we'll have to wait.
There probably got to be some New Japan people that Mox is tight with, like from his old.
That. Oh well, you know what? God, he's turned up in AEW so much. I know he's older, but it's one guy.
Oh, the ball dog that everybody like, not the pit bull.
No, the one that everybody likes humming away to his song and stuff.
Suzuki.
Suzuki-san, yeah, Suzuki Gun.
Yeah. I can see Suzuki.
That could be one of them, but then there still leaves two others. But yeah, that could be one of them. But interesting. The next match, Will Ospreay versus Jericho. Who you picking?
Jericho, unfortunately.
I'm going Ospreay. If you want to,
I feel like Jericho.
Right,
I feel like Jericho will go to win though.
No, here you go.
I'm hoping I'm wrong.
Here you go.
Go ahead.
Right, you got two Poms on this show. If you're going to give the win to one of them, give it to Will Ospreay, not Saraya.
That's a fact.
Will Ospreay is one of the best wrestlers in the world today.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. And I think Jericho puts him over. Jericho has no issues putting people over, especially at this stage of his career. This match was actually meant to take place at Wrestle Kingdom, I think, a couple of years ago, and it didn't end up happening. So that's why this has come about. I think Ospreay wins, and I also think that Don Callis has a little hand in that.
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah,
I can see it.
As I said, Will's obviously going to carry the match a bit at this stage of Jericho's career, but again, Jericho likes Sting. He can still put on a good match. No, he's not that same Jericho that we all remember from back in the day, but he can still put on a great match. We all know how great he is on the microphone. I'd even go as far as to say, which I know you probably at least agree with me on this, Jericho puts on a better match than CM Punk.
Damn sure.
Yeah. So I think it'll be a fine match. I think it's a good match, to be quite honest. Obviously, it was a match that was meant to happen.
I think a lot of people didn't want to see it because somebody said this on Twitter, and I agree with them. Nobody wanted to see this match, but I think it's going to be better than what we all originally thought.
Yeah,
I'm not saying it's going to knock my socks off.
No.
I think it'll be good.
No, I think it'll be a good match. I think I could safely say, I know a lot of these matches get rated out of 5-star. I could see it at least being a 4-star match. I think just purely because of Will Ospreay for starters. But as I said, Jericho can still go and he works well with anybody and anybody's style. So, and he trained real hard in the New Japan style, and this is basically the style of match you're going to get here. And, yeah, I think it will be a good match. And, yeah, it should be interesting to see. But I'm picking Ospreay. I think you give him the win because, as I said, you're in his home country. He's the young gun. He's got a lot more wrestling ahead of him. And, it's just going to be beneficial to him. Jericho can still look good, and he can make Will Ospreay look good. So, yeah. Then, of course, we're on to the match that, as I said, if this was happening, say, 10 years ago, we probably would get another phenomenal match like the Ring of Honor matches. But Punk and Joe, we have to make a choice.
Punk, easy.
You think Punk?
Punk. Yeah. That's not even a conversation, Punk.
I think obviously Punk, and I'm just going to say it's going to be because of his sway.
Yep. Punk.
You know what, though? You know what? I know it's not going to happen, but I want Samoa Joe to come out in his sweet tooth get up.
Yo, shout out Samoa Joe. That was a great show. He did an excellent job in Twisted Metal.
Especially
excellent job
like doing the actions while Will Arnett's doing the voice for it, and the actions.
Yeah, I obviously shout out both of them. That's kind of, I feel like that was weird, but they definitely pulled it off.
Oh, they did. But fantastically.
I wanted Joe to voice act Sweet Tooth, but they the show was phenomenal. If you haven't watched Twisted Metal, go watch Twisted Metal.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, I think, as I said, Punk's going to come out on top here because of his sway. And Joe's still got a title, hasn't he? He's still got the Ring of Honor. Is it Ring of Honor television title he's got? Is that what he's got?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're Ring of Honor television.
I think this will... I'm not going to say it's going to be a horrible match. I think it'll be an okay match. I think it'll be better than the women's match. But yeah,
that might be a worse match in the night, and I'm not even kidding. I'm like, that really might be a worse match.
It might, yeah. It very well. Considering the other matches you got and the other people involved in the match, I mean, even the Stadium Stampede match, which that can be hard to pull off because you got so many people. I think that'll still be a better match to watch. Yeah, I think this will probably be, again, without it being bad, I think it'll be the worst match out of the card. Considering the other matchups on the card. But, look, I hope both guys put on a show to the best of their ability. That's all I can hope for with these two boys. Look, I was a fan of CM Punk back in the day. I loved his rebel attitude and stuff, and I did like his style, especially his Ring of Honor style.
Yeah, Ring of Honor Punk is the best Punk, honestly.
I've always been a fan of Samoa Joe. I think the man's always been a phenomenal worker. He's a hard worker, big-time team player. He's got a heart of gold. If anything, I'm glad to see him have a match on a really, really, really big show like this because I've always thought that he's been deserving of that type of spotlight. It sucks that it's sort of happening later in his career, but at least he's getting that moment, and I'm really happy for him. So
I agree.
No, good on him, and go out there and do your thing, Joe. And then, of course, my match of the evening, the main event, MJF versus Adam Cole. Who you got? I know who I've got here.
Oh, I'm gonna still go with MJF. I want Adam Cole to win because Adam Cole's my dude. You know what? Screw it. No, I'm going Adam Cole. I'm going Adam Cole.
I'm picking Adam Cole. I've been picking Adam Cole for a while now to be the person to dethrone him. Plus, makes for a good storyline considering, as we said, there's going to be the double switch happening, and you have because it's always good to have the babyface chasing the title, in my opinion. Have an MJF chase after him to win back his Triple B, as he likes to call it. Yeah, I think that's the way to go here. I really do. Especially if you're going to do this double turn. That helps with this storyline, which what they've been trying to achieve here. And Adam Cole, turning on him, and MJF then going, well, now see, this is why I never bloody opened up to people, let someone in or trusted somebody. And now look what happened. I let my guard down, and now it's happened. So I think that's how we're going to end the night, with a new world heavyweight champion. And as I said, this potentially has the opportunity to be the match of the evening. I think these two guys are the two biggest guys in the company. I think they are at the top of their game, and they're going to put on one hell of a show. and that crowd's just gonna eat it up. And yeah, I think that's a heck of a way to end the show. As I said, I still think with this card, as we look over it, and we know that AEW are known for their big cards, I think one more match gets added in there somewhere.
One or two more is going to get
The
added.
only thing that sucks, because obviously they've done it as a story point of view, Ricky Starks won't be he'll be there, but he's not wrestling there because he's they're doing the whole suspended thing because of what he did with Steamboat.
They said Sean Ross said his thing ends on the day of All In, so don't be surprised if you see him participate in a match or something.
You know what? It would be. You know what would be a real swerve? He comes out and costs CM Punk the belt.
That will be. I will be there for that. I will be.
That's something I could see happen because looking at the card as is, if he's not going to have a match himself, but he's going to get involved in a match, that's the only match that seems logical to me for him to get involved in. Because he hasn't got anything going with MJF or Cole. He's not involved in that. He has had something going with Punk, so it makes sense. And maybe the only other match that makes sense that he might get involved in, that he doesn't really need to get involved in, maybe with Darby's match, maybe, because, he's had his little thing there and said, I don't need to be considered as a pillar, rah. So,
yeah.
But more so the Punk match because of him and Punk. So, yeah, I'm interested. We'll have to watch Dynamite and Collision. Now, that's the interesting thing. I don't know. I think Dynamite's being held in the States, but I'm not sure about Collision because that's obviously going to be the day before. So
Collision will probably be pre-recorded.
You think it'd be pre-recorded, or do you think they do it in London?
It could be done in London. I don't know if they announced anything as of yet that it will be done in London, but I can definitely see it because sometimes WWE used to do that, like pre-record shows and do a head overseas. Yeah,
exactly. So, no, hell of a card. I think it's going to be definitely worthy of the build-up that's surrounded it. And I know they've had to do a few things right at the last minute and work around things like injuries and stuff like that. But card-wise, it's a pretty decent card, and I think most people should walk away quite satisfied. So, yeah, What other do you think there might be any surprises? Anything else you might want to touch on the card and the event itself?
I don't know in terms of surprises because every AEW, I think AEW will do a surprise. I don't know who though. Maybe Goldberg, maybe somebody else, maybe one of the local wrestlers that are there that the crowd knows very well. I could definitely see them doing a surprise though.
You know what would be the biggest surprise for me? And I don't think it'll happen, but then I also say never. And the person's currently out of contract. So that technically means this person can do whatever the hell they want. Does Joshua Fatu, a.k.a. Jey Uso, show up? Because he can. He can. They turned around and said, at the start of this week, actually, his no-compete clause is over. He's not under any contract. Right? Again, I don't think it's going to happen. But how much of a surprise would that be?
That would be awesome.
If they announce him, main event, Joshua Fatu turns up. That would be insane. Insane.
That would be awesome. Especially, I don't know if you caught BTE the other day or week. It was
Dolph Ziggler was
whatchamacallit. Not Dolph Ziggler. It was what's my man name? The one who be doing the dance. Daniel Garcia. I had a brain fart again. Daniel Garcia put up the one, and they was asked like, "What's that for?" He was like, "For the bloodline."
Yes, yeah. So as I said, there's nothing technically stopping him. I mean, he could come in just while he's having that break and have a short stint if he wanted to. I mean, there's nothing.
I'm never opposed the WWE and AEW ever working together. That's one of my dreams to have them do a Forbidden Door because I just want to see Kenny and Roman go at it because they're my two favorites.
Right.
And that's just that's the biasness in me. But I definitely wouldn't be opposed to it.
No,
like who doesn't want to see Kenny and Roman Reigns? Like who doesn't want to see that?
But again, as I said, I don't think it'll happen, but I'm just putting it out there, never say never, because there is nothing stopping him from showing up. Because as I said, the no complete clause is done. He's not under any contract. He hasn't signed a new contract. So right now, he is technically a free agent. That could go anywhere. He could go to Impact Wrestling if he wanted to where he's
join up with his wife. Oh no, that's not his wife. His sister-in-law. That's
yeah.
Jimmy's wife. I get them mixed up sometimes.
But no, I'm just gonna keep the little twinkle of hope, maybe, because that to me would be more exciting and a bigger shock factor than just Goldberg showing up. I'd be like, what? Like everybody, I imagine the whole crowd would be, doing the holy F chants, right? Because nobody, and I've been seeing people talk about this. I've seen the little gift getting around of Joshua Fatu is all elite, and then a bunch of people go,
yeah, that's hilarious.
It's not going to happen, even though WWE's playing into it. They've put him in the alumni segment, blah, 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 blah. But I'm just saying.
I love how they do that too. I love how they do that. Like they're showing that kayfabe. Like, yeah, now he's there. That's more in depth to the story.
I have to say that there's always the possibility. That's all we could say. There's always a possibility. If he wants to, and Tony goes, hey, you know what? Do you want to come and work this show at least? Like, because you don't, so just never say never. So I'm not trying to get people's hopes up again, just to hear me out. But again, there's nothing. All I'm going to say is there's nothing stopping him from showing up. He's a free agent. He can go where he pleases right now at this moment until he actually signs a contract with somebody. I just think it would be funny. I think it'd be a shock. The reason I say funny is because there's so many people go, oh, no, it won't happen, and then it happens. It would be like, what are you saying it can't happen? He's not under contract. Of course it can happen. It's just a matter of if that's what he wants to do. And if it was me right now, and knowing that, okay, I'm going to wait till like January, ish to start building the feud with me, bro. You know what? Stay in ring shape. Why not go over there and have a couple of matches? Why not? Because they're always good. As long as he doesn't sign anything longish term, he could always do that and then come back to WWE in January, that's always doable. So we'll have to see. We'll have to wait and see. And my God, the cheer... I just think the roof will nearly come off that place if he shows up. Because fans have been so invested in that storyline. Now he's done the whole, I'm out, deuces, see you later, ooses, out. It'll just be so intriguing. So you will see. We'll see. But that for me is what I would love to see. Whether or not I get that is another thing. But yeah, I think, as I said, there's been so much rumours and... smoke around Goldberg. I'll have a feeling he's probably likely going to show up, and him and Tony are really close and really good friends, so every possibility there. Thankfully not in a match, but it'd be cool just to see him turn up and spear someone, do his little thing there, and that's about it. I don't know what match you have him get involved in though, but yeah, that'd be interesting. But other than that, folks, that is all we have for you this week. Covered a lot, covered all in. Everybody get ready for that this coming weekend. Fantastic pay-per-view. But, brother, did you want to let the fine folks know where they can find you?
Hey, man, you can always find me on Twitter at JoshuaCount1. Right there. I am always there. I may not tweet a lot, or I don't know what we call it now, X, but
X.
I may not post a lot, but I'm there to hang out, to chat. I'll be in spaces, so definitely come look me up.
There you go, folks. And I just want to, of course, thank everybody who came out tonight, for my girl, Trinity, and everything she does behind the scenes. Thank you so much. Yobi, always good to see you, brother, and talk wrestling with you. Pharrell, Timmer, the birthday man himself, Carlo, dropped in here earlier. I hope you have a great birthday, brother, and celebrate in style. Thank you for Paul for joining us, obviously, earlier before he had to bounce out as well. Chuck, one of my panel members from Backlog Bass, so he was up in here earlier. Of course, Dreadpool, a good friend of mine, also dropped by. So thank you, everybody, including the lurkers, for all the support. You can find me at SpookyTBG on the app formerly known as Twitter, and a bunch of other social medias. You can also find me on the PC because I've now gone fully back to PC gaming now on both Steam and Epic. I suppose if you're on Xbox, you can still play with me there as well. But yeah, that's where you can find me. Other than that, you can find me and the fellas on every Monday evening, and of course with the Backlog Bastards every Wednesday evening, right here on the 4GQ TV channel. Of course, don't forget to hit that subscribe button to subscribe to the channel. A lot of great content is always put out here. Apart from my two podcasts, Carlo and Paul are always doing a lot of interesting interviews with former writers of wrestling, horror movie, producers and directors and writers of TV series and a bunch of good stuff. So keep a look out on the channel. Oh, and recently they had their first episode the other day. An all-women's podcast has started up on the channel. And you don't see too many of them around. They talk gaming and sports and a bunch of variety of topics. So do check that out as well. Other than that, I hope everybody has a great rest of the evening. And we will see you all next time. Thank you, everybody.